Alright, so now I went and done it, but I think I kind of went and done it in a good way. So here's some scrap parts that I threw in a pile here the other day and laying here in the rain. So I've relocated the shock mounts on these front lower A-arms. And this little support here, that indicates where the lower shock mount used to be. So kind of in this area, and now if you look up in here, you can see I've got that support right in this area, and that shock mount has moved up quite a bit. I'm going to spin this A-arm around for you guys, and then you'll get a better look at how I made that. So this is going to completely change the shock angle on the machine and give it a whole different stance for that shock. I think I'm going to like this a lot better. So yeah, it's easy to say, well, I just cut that off and relocated, but actually it's quite a bit of work to make that all happen. And getting rid of all the old welds and stuff. So maybe I'm going to include that in the video today, how I cut stuff off and get rid of the weld so it doesn't get hacked up too bad. So here's some of my tools of choice. I'm going to start off with my grinder, but I've got a cutting disc on there instead. You see how thin that little disc is? Great job for cutting steel. Then I'm going to change over to my grinding disc, and then I'm going to change over to my little sanding disc that I've got on the end of my die grinder. So, and then of course basic safety gear. And if I do this kind of work, especially inside, then I can notice it on my lungs at the end of the day. It's like, you know, you can kind of, you know, what's got in there, you know, it's all the dust and stuff. So dust mask, you know, for you know, certain applications. I think for today outside I'll be in good shape. So even though this is a scrap piece, it's kind of a pretty good example of how I'll start. And I'll take that cutting disc. I don't like to get in too close, because if I do, I could damage the material that I'm trying to save, and I'd rather sneak up on it later with the grinder and the sanding disc. So if I was actually trying to save this piece, I might have got in a little tighter with the cutting disc at first, but requires some strategy, you know, some finesse with handling the machine and stuff. So if this was the piece here that was on the arm, then this end here would have been welded into this area here. And so you can see, unless I point it out to you guys, you might never have even seen that. There used to be a weld on there. You see how that turned out. Well, I went rummaging around in my steel pile, and I found this, and I have no idea what it was supposed to be, but it looks like very temporary-ish, whatever it was I was trying to do. You see that's just spotted on there. And so I'm going to use this piece to show you guys how I get rid of old welds. So I'm going to, look at this thing. What was that supposed to be? It's been too long for me to remember what in the world that was. It looks like some sort of temporary holding device, like maybe I had a piece of rod that was in here and it was just supposed to hold something temporarily. I don't know what that was supposed to be. But I'm going to cut this thing off of here, and I'm going to try and not damage this piece. So let's say I want to save this, and I want to get rid of this, and I want to just revamp this whole thing, and I'm going to show you guys how I get rid of my old welds. Okay, so I was trying to knock this piece off with my hammer. This piece has already come flying off, but I think I got it loose now. So you can see the welds are cut, but I tried to stay off the original material that I want to save, like right here. So let's see if this thing comes off now. I guess a hammer and a punch might be a better choice here. Okay. So I've changed over to my thick grinding disc now, and I'm looking at the welds that I got left over, and this one is so low that I think I'm just going to keep the grinding disc off of it, because I don't want to damage the material here or around here. So I'm going to leave this one alone for now, but this one, the weld is still kind of on the high side, so I'm going to take that grinding disc and I'm going to just stay right on it. So you can see if I'm on the weld, I can actually rock it to the left or to the right and possibly contact the material that I want to save. So I have to keep it square on the material now and just stay on the weld. And I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm going to kind of reduce it to about what I've got here, and then it'll be good enough for the sanding disc. Okay, so this weld is down now more, and there's not much left. And I don't want to get too close with that grinding disc because it does a lot of damage in a hurry if I start contacting areas that I want to keep. That's more of a finesse job for the sanding disc. So I'm going to get at it with that thing now. So that was a 36 grit that I was just using there, and then I changed up to 60 grit, a little finer, and then I worked it for a little bit of a wider area. So that actually turned out pretty nice. And you could see before when I was grinding on here, I would check it with my hand, and you can actually feel it. You know, your hands and your fingers will tell you what your eyes often can't see. So right now I'm feeling for high spots and low spots. Here's another step to making it a little bit smoother. I've got a sandpaper flapper wheel on my 3/8 drill. So I would say at this point it's pretty much impossible to tell where the weld was. Here's the one that I didn't finish off. I just left that one alone the whole time. But so I don't always use the sandpaper or flapper, and I don't always use the 60 grit sanding disc either. I think on the A-arms when I got rid of the old welds, I just used the 36. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm just showing you some options here that I use sometimes. And so next video I hope to get some shocks on the front of that machine. It should have a whole new stance, and looking forward to getting that thing sitting on its own weight and using its own suspension. So anyways, thanks for checking us out, guys.